there has been no better friend to ADF since we moved here 5 years ago than Martin and Gudrun Kugler. And we have just so inspired by your work, delighted to partner with you into so many different fronts. And so it's my great pleasure this evening to invite to speak now our great friend, ally, and fighter in the good fight, Gudrun Kugler.
Thank you, Paul, and to all of your team. I have to say, I'm working here just around the corner in the City Hall, where we try to do politics for the many issues that unite us. And sometimes I'm there in this parliament, and I think, thank God, Alliance Defending Freedom is just around the corner. It makes me feel a lot better, and it's great to work with you and all of your wonderful people. Now, Paul has mentioned Thanksgiving, and more than Christmas, it's true, it's now Thanksgiving weekend in many parts of the world. And I thought about the theme, and what are the things that we have to be grateful for, that we actually can be grateful for. And I wanted to point out to you that 5 years ago, Paul, when ADF arrived here, we were far from the structures and networks that we are at today. We have formed strong networks on a number of issues, religious freedom, but also life and family, sexual education. And these networks are there, and they are strong. And with the networks always come people. And we have many people, and we have new people, and we have strong people. And that's new, and that's in a way the best that we could have done so far. And now, moving from those networks, we are seeing first successes in the area of religious freedom. 10 years ago, it was absolutely impossible to talk about the issue of Christianity. Do you remember Lady Ashton then for the European Union? The voice for foreign affairs when Muslims killed Christians in Egypt, and she said a press release condemning religious violence, and people saying, well, it was, targeted against Christians, and she didn't want to say it. But this has changed, and it's being said, but it's only halfway where we need to be, and there's still a long way to go to get further with speaking of truth and actually finding answers. And there are two challenges that I would like to point out to you today that maybe we can think about together how we answer them. And one is a challenge for lawyers, and the other one is a challenge for all of us. First, the lawyers. We have moved in the legal field, and especially in the training of jurists and lawyers, away from the question, what is justice and what is right and wrong, to the approach of how to argue. That's what's left. We don't ask the question how to determine truth, justice, right and wrong. We ask the question, how do we argue in court? And the leading Ivy League universities call this the PBL, the problem-based learning. And the students are sent away with the problem, and they think about it, they come back and they argue, and it's interesting. But nobody gives them the answer in the end. And this you could also call legal positivism, right? True is what was formulated as a law in the proper manner. And that's all. And how do people find answers? And you know what happens from this? We have the students trained like this. So we have lawyers like this, and we also have judges like this. The question, what is right and what is wrong, is not being asked. And this creates a very big void. And what fills a void nowadays? Whims, public opinion, the one who screams louder. And this is something where ADF needs to give an answer, and gives an answer by filling this void with real answers. And I think we have to see that one of the problems we face when it comes to litigation is the void of orientation with the people who take those decisions. And now, you allow me to quote Pope Benedict, yes? I may. And you know that I'm a great fan of Pope Benedict's speech in the German Bundestag, the German Parliament, in 2011. And those of you who haven't read it, please do. Everything's in there. And there he says, the most dramatic and the most urgent problem Europe faces today is that we are positivists in reason and positivists in how we see nature. He says this is the most dramatic problem and we need to discuss it. But we're not discussing it. Do you see anyone talking about this? So, positivism of nature, he says, that we see nature only as cause and effect, but nothing derives from this. From the is, we don't understand there should be an ought. from babies born, female and male, the odd is that we live as men and women, right? And that the baby is begotten by a father and a mother, and therefore the baby needs a father and mother and all of this. We don't conclude from the is to the ought. And that's the same problem that is mirrored with the training of lawyers, jurists, and judges. How do we answer this? By raising the question, what is justice? By working with the young, as you do. And I think that we see from this that if the void is filled by public debate, we need to get into this public debate. And my key message for you today is there is no litigation without a political campaign. That's important, I think, for ADF to consider, and you do, because you are hiring all these people who can do campaigns. There is no successful litigation if it's not related to the public dialogue and if it's not related to politics. And ADF is doing this, but we all have to take this even more seriously. And now my second point, we have the networks in place, right? We have great people, and we are all ready to go. And I look around and I can see so many of you, I know you are ready to go. But we do not have thoroughly thought about a strategy, right? Who of you has long-term, mid-term, and short-term goals, 5-year goals? Where do we want to go next year? And this needs to be concerted. And it's us, the brains here in this room, and almost everyone is here should be part of this thinking. It's us thinking about where do we want to go on the long run, and what does it mean for next year, and who can join in, who can take parts of these tasks. And it's about formulating where we want to go, and it's about finding agents and sub-agents to do it, right? And in a way, we haven't done this so far, and it might explain why we were not more successful. So I'm just leaving you today with these two thoughts. How can we fill the void in the brains of the jurists? And how can we define a strategy that will actually, from the strength we have gathered, you know, I've been in this for 20 years, right? I'm now, I say it, I've turned 40 last week, right? So I have been in this for 20 years, and I see the strength that we have gathered. But now let's make use of the strength. And it only works by us sitting down and thinking it through. And who will do it, if not us? And so I think let's raise our glasses tonight and say, let's get going on these great causes all together. Thank you very much. Cheers.